I'm also joined here by my political sources, Democratic Congressman Khanna of California and Sununu, who is the former Republican governor of New Hampshire. I want to talk about extending health care subsidies and Medicaid cuts and if they're going to change that. But when the president posts a video like that, I mean, how do you think the people who are negotiating with the president respond to that tonight, sir?
Look, I think they're on the Republican side, the president's saying, well, I guess these negotiations are done. You know, so the clock will strike midnight on Tuesday. That's a bad thing for everybody. I mean, that's the big takeaway message. There's very few Americans watching this at home going, gee, I hope the Republicans win or hope the Democrats win. Everyone's saying we hope the government stays open because, as Senator Fetterman just pointed out, so many lives are at stake. My job is to represent the airlines. That's my new job. And the main message is things are going to happen. The planes will take off. It's going to happen safely. It's going to happen securely. But it's going to be a massive strain on the system. And that's just one of the many systems across this country that get impacted. Hundreds of thousands of workers across many industries having to go to work, no pay. Day after day, no pay, because they're essential, but they effectively don't get paid. If that goes on for weeks, you're straining systems all across this country. So you can go with the partisan back and forth, what happens inside the Beltway. At the end of the day, the main message for Americans is, back to Washington is, guys, figure it out, right? Just buy yourself some more time. Pass a clean CR. Buy yourself some more time so you can have those debates on healthcare subsidies and all of that. All that's welcomed by everybody, but you got to keep the government open. This shouldn't be just a lever. This should only be a pull, break glass only in the case of emergency. And I don't think America understands that we're there.
And on that idea of temporarily keeping the government funded while they debate that, I mean, Hakeem Jeffries basically said no to that to John Berman in the last hour. If you're in the middle of these negotiations, the Democrats came out sounding not completely aghast at what had happened inside their meeting. Like, there could be negotiations. I mean, but what was your response to the video the president posted tonight?
We have to understand how abnormal this is. Look, Governor Sununu has negotiated a lot of budgets, and people say you're very tough. But you don't mock someone and put a video out about how they look. You don't ever mock people's ethnicity. How do you negotiate with that? And how have we made this normal? He's not talking about I disagree with the health care cuts. He's mocking Hakeem Jeffries. And he's got a hat as implying that he's somehow an immigrant. I mean, it is awful. And it should be condemned universally. Just the tactics. And then you look at the substance. How do you sit there and negotiate with someone when he's saying it doesn't really matter what you pass because I get to decide whether I want to spend the money or not? The first thing the Democrats are saying is when Congress passes something, Senator Fetterman is talking about elections. Elections matter. Okay, so Congress passes something. They were elected to pass it. And Trump's saying, no, I don't have to listen to Article 1 of the Constitution. I'm going to spend what I want. What's the point of negotiation?
Well, and every comment from Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, John Thune, Mike Johnson, even the Vice President, J.D. Vance, was kind of about, very highly disagreeing over how to move forward here and the positions that each side is holding, but also saying there is common ground. We believe we could come to an agreement. We want the other side to see how we see it. But the president is the ultimate decider and negotiator in this situation, and he made clear his views tonight.
Well, so a couple things on that. First, the message we heard from even Democrats that were in that meeting were that he was listening, he was engaged, he was asking thoughtful questions. He thought that there was some
and then he
for
posted that
landing.
video.
Well, again, I think he's saying in terms of the opportunity to pass a clean CR. We had to pass a continuing resolution in the state of New Hampshire once, but it just says very simply we're going to continue running the government the way it's been running for the next 90 days to buy us time. You don't try to throw in big new programs or big new spending initiatives or things like that. That's where things really break down, and I think that's the message that the president and the Republicans heard. We're not here to debate in the last minute, all these massive programs. Let's just keep the darn thing open to have a real debate on the Senate floor while the government's operating and the American people don't suffer. So, yeah, look, he has his own style and his own messaging, but what he's effectively saying is, we should do it like we normally do it, a clean, continuing resolution so the American people aren't left out in the cold.
But, Chris, we don't have a normal government. How can you say, let's do it the way we're doing it when he's basically saying, well, I'm not going to spend the money that Congress has appropriated. I'm going to just have foreign aid I don't want. I'll just cut it. If there's health care money that I don't like, I'm just going to cut it. We at the very least need a commitment that he is going to spend what Congress has authorized. And the second issue is on health care. I mean, there have been devastating cuts on Medicaid, which is going to affect rural hospital and working families. And everyone who's on the exchanges, premiums are going to go up 80%. the Trump tax if we don't get the Affordable Care subsidies extended. If I were Donald Trump, I would be thanking Chuck Schumer and Jeffries for saying, thank you for saving this so we don't have higher inflation on health care. Thank you for helping me get this deal.
Well, and on that front, there was a moment today where Senator Schumer seemed to say that the president wasn't fully aware of the implications and ramifications of the subsidies ending or of the cuts to what's going to happen to rural hospitals. I don't know if we have the answer. I think we do of what the Vice President, J.D. Vance, said when I asked him about that. I want to listen to that.
We laid out to the president some of the consequences of what's happening in health care. And by his face and by the way he looked, I think he heard about them for the first time.
Can you respond to what Senator Schumer said, that there were aspects about health care ending for certain people that the president was learning about for the first time in that meeting? And was the president open to a deal on the ACA subsidies?
Well, I'm highly skeptical that the president was learning about it for the first time, thanks to Chuck Schumer.
And he went on to basically make the argument there about, where the subsidies stand, whether or not they should extend them. Do you think the president is open to room there, or should be?
Well, it sounds like he is. Even the Democrats said he was listening. He's open to room. But again, that isn't going to be all debated in the last 24 hours before the government shuts down. This is not the time to start that debate and start that discussion. You need a clean continuing resolution. Buy yourself the 7 weeks. Have a more in-depth discussion, both with the White House, with both sides of the aisle. Find areas of consensus. Understand neither side is going to get everything they want. But the idea that we're just going to shut it down unless we revamp all these massive programs in the last 24 hours. Again, I'm the airline guy. I want planes in the air. I want people to be able to travel. I want it to happen safely. I want traffic control workers to get paid. I want our security workers at airports to get paid and not have to put that strain on their families. Everybody wants that.
The Democratic base might want to fight, though, actually, because they weren't happy with how Senator Schumer handled this back in March. You criticized him as well. Do you have confidence in his handling of it now?
I do. I think he understands that this is a moment we have to stand up for the Constitution. It's a moment we have to stand up for working families. And here's the reality. They have the votes. They won the presidency. They have the votes in the Senate. They have the votes in the House. They can get rid of the filibuster. They've done it on a number of presidential appointments, and they can keep the government open. But what they can't expect is for Democrats to give our votes to something that we are going to be complicit in, which is massive health care cuts and a president who isn't respecting Congress.
Congressman Khanna, former Governor Sununu, great to have you both here. We'll see what happens.